What's going on, everyone? It's Bran here from Bloody Breakdown, and today I want to talk about something that I've seen a lot of people in the horror movie community kind of shit a kitten over, and I'm not quite sure if that's warranted. So I want to talk about what was said and give you all my opinion, and I'd love to hear from you all in the comment section below on what you think. So, Chris Rock. He's behind, not only I believe he wrote, and he is starring in the upcoming Saw film this year that's currently under the working title The Organ Donor. Saw, what, 8, 9? Yeah, at this point. So, he gave an interview to an IGN employee by the name of David Griffin, excuse me, at the Television Critics Association press event. And we have the quote here. This is the quote that has, like I said, launched a lot of horror fans. A lot of them are getting red flags. You know, I don't want to come after anyone saying they're being reactionaries or whatever, but this is what was said, and we'll go from there. So the quote he has here is, "A lot of times I go to a movie or I watch a TV show and I go, wow, you know, 2 jokes would have made a big difference in that. I love Saw, and I was like, wow, it has almost no humor at all." So it seemed like a good place, good fertile ground, by the way. The new Saw I've seen, like a rough cut. It's still Saw. It's bloody. It's gory. But there's like a sprinkling of humor here and there. We're not revamping it. It's not Scary Movie. It's Saw. Okay, so, and I'm glad he kind of said that last part, because a lot of people have, I don't know where they're getting this from. We know virtually nothing about this film. I guess it's just kind of who Chris Rock is and what we're accustomed to seeing from him as to why many people believe exactly what he said here at the end, that it's now going to be just some Scary Movie type thing, with the Wayans brothers. I personally don't believe that he's turning Saw into a comedy film. I think that if you look at a lot of horror franchises, a lot of horror films in general, you'll notice that there are, on occasion, that sprinkling of humor that Chris mentions here. You do have that. If you look at Scream, there's certain ways you can watch a movie. Like Scream can be funny, and it can be scary, and it can be suspenseful, and it can be a mystery. There's a lot of horror movies out there that do use that spattering, that sprinkling, as he put it, of comedy without it becoming a comedy. And I think if you look at Saw, generally speaking, it has very little of that. I'm not saying there's none in it at all. Maybe some dry wit I get from time to time out of some of the dialect in the films, but overall there's always a dark, foreboding sense of dread and uncertainty in these films, and it doesn't leave a lot of room for that sprinkling of humor. Now, as I say that, I think, the Jigsaw movie they put out a couple of years back, I remember the one kind of chunky white dude character who did kind of serve as some comedic relief through the film, but I think it was used pretty sparingly, and also it really wasn't all that funny. So I trust Chris Rock more to throw a chuckle or two in there than whoever wrote that guy's lines in the last film. But that last movie is a beast of its own that we don't need to get into. On the flip side, I do understand why any horror fans would be concerned. Anytime people will try to throw comedy into something that isn't traditionally comedy in the horror genre, it's always met with a little bit of resistance and a little bit of, hey, wait a minute, are you ruining something I love? But if you want to look at it from a certain standpoint, yeah, Bride of Chucky isn't Child's Play 1 or 2, sure. But Evil Dead 2 is, in some cases and in some circumstances, I'd say is better than the original. So it really all just depends what the goal is, if the goal is attainable. If it is attained, and go from there. I wouldn't work back from the premise that, you know, this is just going to be a shit movie. I think it's interesting. I haven't been as interested to see a Saw film in quite a while, honestly. Definitely not for Jigsaw. I'll say that. So I think they're on the right path here. I don't think anyone out there that can say, honestly, they're not interested to see Samuel L. Jackson and Chris Rock in the newest installment of the Saw franchise. You know, they've said over and over and over again, it's canon with all the films. It is a Saw movie. It's the same stuff you're used to, but with a brand new take. Personally, I feel like if I'm going into this thing tomorrow, do I think I'm going to get something that's very interesting? Sure. I don't know if it's going to be good. I don't know if it's going to be interesting in a good way or a bad way, but I think it's going to be different. I think it's going to be interesting. I think it'll be unique. So I take Chris Rock's word for it here. I think what he means is that there's going to be a little bit more levity in this film. Like he said, a couple of sprinkles of humor here and there. There's been plenty of slasher films, torture porn films, horror films in general that have had that before, probably more often than not, and they were fine. As long as we don't have the fucking dipshit cops from Halloween 5, you know, dicking around to Bulk and Skull themed music playing in the background, then I think we'll probably be okay. But I could come on here when this film drops in May and admit that I was absolutely wrong and he fucked it up beyond belief. I don't know, but I am remaining at least pretty positive about it right now. But I want to know what everyone else thinks. I want to know what you all think. So please drop that down below in the comment section. Do you think that Chris Rock is going to fuck up the Saw franchise? Do you think that Chris Rock is going to do something different and revitalize the Saw franchise? Or do you think this thing's just kind of going to be a middle of the way film that, you know, exists and doesn't really do anything at all? Just let me know what your thoughts are. While you're down there, leave a like if you enjoyed the video, subscribe and turn on notifications if you're new here and you want to know more about not just Saw, but all horror films upcoming and past in general. That's what we do here at Bloody Breakdown. And definitely check out the description section with links to follow me on social media or support my work via Patreon. So, your turn, sound off in the comment section down below, and until next time, I'm Bran from Bloody Breakdown.